Hi everybody, this is Bill from AT Makers. I have a Sunday update that is got a couple different interesting things here. No, it's been a while since we've done a live video. A couple reasons for that. Busy time of year with lesson picks. Things are kind of crazy here, but I think it's a good time for me to give a quick update and let you guys know about a few things that are big and coming up pretty quickly. So the first, I got to give a lot of credit to Eliza Kern. I'm going to get your name wrong after all. Eliza Warren in Gainesville. So those of you who aren't aware, the IntelliKeys, the IntelliKeys overlay smart keyboards that have been around forever are being end-of-lifed. They are being no longer being sold by AbleNet, and that was announced a while ago, but that's coming up on a date that in December they're going to shut down some things. And so I had reached out to them a while ago unsuccessfully, and I got to give Eliza a lot of credit because she was very successful. And she got them to open source the drivers for these. And that might not be clear what that means to most of you, but the number one thing it means is that if you have these and you find them useful, don't throw them away. Okay, the fact that they're being end of life, that they don't work on Windows 10 or whatever other issues you're having, don't throw these away if you find them useful. There is now the community of IntelliKeys users now has the ability to support these going forward if we decide that we want to. And I'll tell you that this is actually one of the very first pieces of AT I ever knew about. When I met Lori, my wife and co-founder of Lesson Picks, she was a special ed pre-K teacher in Kissimmee, and she was using these and making all kinds of overlays for her classroom. And it wasn't just it was an inclusion classroom, and all the kids were using them. If you don't know what these do, they basically let you create keyboards and mouse areas that you design. So you can say, I only want the numbers and the arithmetic things, or the child that I'm working with only uses the right-hand side because of motion. We need to pack everything very efficiently. Things like that are possible with these. Once you've programmed them and given them an overlay, when you plug them into a regular USB port, they act like a keyboard. So lots of people use these, lots of people know about them, but they are not, and I understand, sorry, I see Eliza's here, and it might be Elisa, I'm not sure. I know her well, I've met her many times, but I don't know how to say her name. Good to see you. So what this means is that with it being end of life, these were not going to be supportable. That's not a big deal for new users. There's lots of options for people now in terms of apps and things like that, where the ability to customize a display is more. It's easier on touchscreens. But if you've got somebody who is dependent on one of these, the ability to support them going forward is a big deal. And so we've asked, whenever companies are going to end of life a product, they're going to not replace it with something newer, not the new versions coming out, but we're going to get rid of this thing completely. Please make the drivers available to the community so that we can kind of self-support them. And I'll give AbleNet, especially Adam Wing, a lot of credit. They've done that. The license that they released it under is very broad. It basically allows you to do whatever you want as long as you promise not to sue them and recognize that they're not going to support you on this anymore. Okay, I think that's the best we could possibly have ever hoped for from them. I have gone over the source code or some of the source code for this. It is a mess. I kind of understand why they may not want to spend a lot of effort on this. There's a lot of issues. But it certainly is not something we would want to throw away, given the number of people who use them. So that's great news. So for those of you who are interested in this, we're going to have a meeting later this week. Post on the board and say you're interested. Eliza, maybe you could post a thread on AT Makers, inviting people to join us. But if you're using these and you don't want to throw them away, there is now hope. Will it be exactly what it was in the past? I don't know. I don't know yet what this is going to look like, but I am very excited that they were willing to do this. Oh, it disappears. Look at that. I have an invisible IntelliKeys. So that's the first exciting thing. I bought 5 of them on eBay and am very happy that I got them at $15 a piece. So that's number 1. Number 2, I just finished filming some videos for a project we have with FAAST. FAAST is the Florida AT. It's the Florida AT Tech Act group, Florida Alliance for Assistive Science and Technology, and we are doing a project with them in November for Christmas. We're adapting a bunch of toys. We've got a bunch of high school kids who are going to get together. We have middle school kids who are contributing to this. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've announced a date. It's going to be November the 19th in Orlando. If any of you are interested, by all means, come and join us. And I'm just going to show, if I can, I was going to show that we actually had an event last week where we had a whole bunch of middle school kids make these jacks. These jacks are kind of our step 1. So before we take apart a toy and try to add a switch adaptation to them, we go ahead and make a whole bunch of jacks up. And this approach of making them first lets people who can't come to the Make-a-thon contribute. They can send us a stack or a bag full of jacks. If anybody wants to do that, we'd love to have you do it. And I just made a video. I just shot the video. I haven't edited it yet. That shows how to make these. These are basic TRS aux cord jacks that are wired in mono, and I can kind of show that here. Maybe you'll notice that even though it's a stereo jack, there's only 2 wires going into them, and basically we take 2 of the wires going. 1 wire goes to 2 of the points. This is not hard to do. It's a great first soldering lesson. So if you're teaching kids to solder, rather than just having them solder things and throw them away, you can have them solder things that are actually useful. So that's what we do when we train kids to solder. We have them make jacks. And I just did something really kind of fun. Oh, this is the other kind of jack that we make. It's exactly the same on the inside, but it's great for when they're hanging out of stuffed animals. This makes it a little bit easier to plug things in and unplug them. But internally, it's exactly the same. We have them make these up as well. So one of the problems with these, especially with the silver one you see there, is that they're hard to test. And you really need to test them, no matter how many. If kids send you 60, if a group of kids sends you 60 jacks, that's great. But if you have to manually test them all before you use them, it takes away some of the greatness. So we actually I created, thanks to a company called Adafruit, which you hear me talking about a lot, and which I think did not buy Radio Shack. It was a cruel hoax. I'm not thrilled with them on that. But I did take one of their devices, and this is the device. It's called a Trinket M0, and I wired up 5 of the pins on it. And what it lets you do is basically you can plug in one of these jacks, hit a button, and it will tell you whether it's good or not. So I can actually demo that if you'd like to see it. I'm going to make a video explaining how to make this as well. Let me plug this in, and you'll see. I don't know if you can see this or not. What I'm going to do is I'll test this silver one. I'm going to plug it in, and then on the other 2, I'm going to connect one to the yellow alligator clip, one to the green, and once that's connected, if I hit this button right here, it'll actually tell me, is this good or bad? And in this case, it's giving me green and yellow, and green and yellow means it's good. Let's see if I can do that again so you can see it better. Let me see. Yeah, it keeps resetting because it doesn't have enough power. Let me try plugging it into my laptop over here. There we go. So that battery pack was dead. So If you look, it's just tested it, and it will run a test and come back and give me a green flashing light, which means that it tested all of the connections and they are all wired correctly. So this is great. You can basically test them in seconds. Wire it up, hit the button, you know it's good. And you can probably teach, send these things to people who are doing the jack creation, and they can test them before they send them to you. So that's kind of fun. And by the way, Alyssa has told me how to pronounce her name, and it's Alyssa. So thank you. Let me plug my mouse back in. All right. So that's the second thing, and the third is actually pretty exciting. It is unofficial. Let me just say that if you are going to ATIA and you are a maker, I would very much like to hear from you. I believe we will be having a maker-style event at ATIA. And I'm looking for some people to help me coordinate it. So I've found some, and I've talked to some of the kind of the leaders in the AT movement, I guess, if there's an AT movement, the AT field, Mike Murata, a bunch of people like that. And I think we have enough momentum that this will happen, which is great. I have to get something back to ATIA very quickly if we're going to do this. And I would love to have your involvement. So if you're going to ATIA this late January, or if you'd like to, and you may remember, for those of you who are working with high school groups, there is this outstanding invitation that any high school group that is doing work with AT makers is invited and welcome to come and attend the show for free. I already know that one group from Penn High School in Indiana will be joining us. And hopefully we're going to get a slightly larger event out of this. So if you're interested, let me know. You can either send me a message, you can comment on this video, and I will get you in the loop about what we're trying to do. If you guys have any questions, let me go quick and see if anybody posted anything. Alyssa has posted something, but just saying hi. If anybody's got questions, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you. And I look forward to sharing some more videos with you later this week. Bye.